Hi, I'm Jill at ingvid.com, and today's lesson is about accents in the UK. So UK accents and also dialects. Okay, so what's the difference between an accent and a dialect? Right, well, an accent, as you know, is to do with pronunciation, how you pronounce the word. Dialect is when you have a word that only people in a certain area of the country use. It's not a national word, it's a local word that maybe people from other parts of the country, they won't even know what it means. So that's dialect. Okay, so let's just have a look through some of the accents that we have in the UK. The one that you're probably learning as you're learning to pronounce English words is RP. RP stands for Received Pronunciation. It's a slightly strange term, received. Where do you receive it from? Well, maybe you receive it from your teacher. This is how to say this word. It's a slightly strange expression, but RP, it's usually referred to by the initials. And it's the kind of accent you will hear if you're watching BBC television programmes or listening to BBC radio. Not everybody on the BBC speaks with an RP accent. The newsreaders tend to be RP speakers, but not always. But the strange thing is that in this country, only a very small percentage of people do speak with this accent. Apparently just 3%, but they tend to be people in positions of power, authority, responsibility. They probably earn a lot of money. They live in big houses. You know the idea. So people like the Prime Minister at the moment, David Cameron, he went to a private school. He went to university, Oxford. So people who've been to Oxford and Cambridge universities often speak in RP. Even if they didn't speak in RP before they went to Oxford or Cambridge, they often change their accent while they are there because of the big influence of their surroundings and the people that they're meeting. So that's RP. It's a very clear accent, so it's probably a good idea to either learn to speak English with an RP accent, or you may be learning with an American accent, a Canadian accent. All of those accents are very clear, okay? And being clear is the most important thing. Okay, so moving on, RP, as I should have said, is mostly in the south of the country, London and the south. So also Cockney and Estuary English are in the south. Okay, so Cockney is the local London accent, and it tends to spread further out to places like Kent, Essex, other places like that, Surrey. There's a newer version of Cockney called Estuary English. If you think an estuary is connected to a river, so the River Thames, which flows across the country, goes quite a long way west. So anyone living along the estuary near the river can possibly have this accent as well. So just to give you some examples then of the Cockney accent, there are different features. So one example is the TH sound. as you know, to make a TH sound. Some of you may find it difficult anyway. Th, when you put your tongue through your teeth. But a Cockney person may not use the th. They will use an F sound or a V sound instead. So the word think, I think, they would say instead of think, they would say it like that, think, and the top teeth are on the bottom lip, think. And words like with, that end with the TH, instead of with, it will be with. Are you coming with me? So that is one of the things that happens with the Cockney accent. Words like together would be together. Okay. The number 3, THREE, is often pronounced free. We have 3 people coming to dinner, 3 people. So there can be confusion there because we have the word free, which has a meaning in itself, free. But if you actually mean 3, the number 3, there can be some confusion. So don't get confused by 3 people. Oh, they're free to come? No, there are 3 of them. 3 people who are free to come. Okay. Another example. Another aspect of Cockney is the glottal stop. Words like computer with a T in it, the T is not pronounced. So a lot of Cockney speakers will say computer. I don't need to write it because you can hear I'm missing out the T and doing a glottal in my throat instead. Computer. Okay. And the word matter, does it matter how I speak? Does it matter? Does it matter how I speak? So that's for you to decide. Does it matter or matter how you speak, how you pronounce? There's another thing with Cockney. When there is an L sound in a word, like in the word milk, Cockney speakers tend to make a W sound instead of the L. So instead of a glass of milk, they will say a glass of milk, and they go like a W. So, and the mail, M-A-I-L, when you have the mail delivered, they might say the mail. It's hard for me to say, mail, rather than mail. The L you make with your tongue on the roof of your mouth, just behind your front top teeth. Mail, but mail is the Cockney. And there's a place in the west of the country, which I'm sure you've heard of. Oh, I'll put it by this one. To the west of the West Country, the country called Wales, and you've probably heard of the Prince of Wales, one of the royal family. This word, with a very strong Cockney speaker, with a very strong accent, tends to pronounce it like wows, not Wales, but wows, which is like saying wow with an S on the end. Wows. We went to Wales for our holiday, but it's actually Wales. So these are some examples of that. And one more aspect of Cockney is the letter H. So if you have a name like Harry, would be pronounced Harry, and have, where you make the H sound, have. So the Cockney speaker tends to miss off the H. Okay, so that's just a few examples of how the Cockney accent differs from RP. Okay, so now we have a little bit more space. We'll move on a little bit further north, and the Midlands is an area of the country about 100 miles or more north of London, the Midlands, which is in the middle of the country. Okay, and there's the East Midlands and the West Midlands. I happen to come from the East Midlands. So my accent is now, because I now live in London, and I've lived in London for a long time, my accent changed gradually after I moved. But there is still a little bit of a mixture in my accent. For example, I still say words like bath and path. Which is the same as the American and Canadian pronunciation. Lots of people say bath and path. But the RP pronunciation of these words is bath and path. So there are a lot of these words where the A is not the A sound, but the R sound. So that is one thing that I have not changed in my accent. I still say bath and path because to me it feels very strange psychologically to talk about a bath or a path. It's just a step too far for me. But other aspects of my previous accent I have changed. For example, if you have a cup of tea, that's the RP pronunciation, but where I come from in the Midlands, we called it a cup of tea. Okay, so I'll spell it like that. That's just a kind of phonetic spelling. Cup of tea. So it feels very strange for me now to say cup because I have trained myself to say cup, which feels more refined, but a nice cup of tea, not a cup of tea, okay? And similarly, larger than a cup is a mug. That sort of thing is a mug, pronounced mug. But in the Midlands, they say mug, a mug. Do you want it in a cup or in a mug? Okay, that's how they would say it. And the word up, look up, they would say look up. So that's another one, similar. And in the Midlands also, and in other parts of the country, sometimes people are very friendly and they call people love. Hello, love, how are you today? They use it in the south, but of course in the Midlands and the north, they say love, okay? So the word love as well, used when you're speaking to somebody in a friendly way. Hello, love, love, love. They say love, okay. Okay, so that's just a few examples of the Midlands and the northern as well. The further north you go, you still get these bath, path, cup, mug, love, up. It's all very similar, really. So from the Midlands upwards. Okay, moving on, there is the West Country, which is over obviously to the west of England, before you get to Wales, because Wales has its own accent, which is different again. The West Country, I can't really imitate that very well, but people sort of imagine it as a very sort of farming area, a kind of rural accent. And if you ever listen to a radio program called The Archers on the radio, BBC Radio 4, they are some of the characters in that program. It's a little drama series, speak in this West Country accent. So that's all I'm saying about West Country, because I can't imitate it. So moving on, apart from England, the country that has given the language its name, English, we have other countries. Scotland in the far north, Wales in the far west, and then Irish, the other island to the west, an island all on its own, called Ireland, which is confusing. Ireland is the name of the country, and it is an island. And of course, Britain, Scotland and Wales is another island because it has the sea all around it. So each of these have their own accent again. So with the Scottish accent, if a Scottish person with their Scottish accent says, I don't know, they say, I dinna ken. Okay, so that means I don't know. So I dinna ken is the. My accent isn't very good, but those are the words that are used. I don't know. Okay, and instead of saying can't or cannot, they say canny. You canny be serious. You can't be serious. I think a tennis player used to say that, didn't he? If he was Scottish, he might have said, you canny be serious, man. So canny instead of can't or cannot. Okay, so those are some examples of Scottish accent and dialect. And Scottish people also, instead of saying yes, they say I. So A-Y-E means yes. And they also, instead of saying oh, the exclamation, oh, they say och, och. And they make this sound in the back of their throat, which is like the German sound. So, och. And they also have these large expanses of water, like big lakes, which are called lochs. So, loch. So, och, I fell in the loch. And they also have a slightly different up and down in their voice as well. Och, I fell in the loch. Och, I'm wet through. So they have a certain way of speaking. If you've ever heard Sean Connery in a film, he changes his accent sometimes. But if you hear Sean Connery, he's a Scottish actor, speaking in his Scottish accent, you will get some idea of the Scottish sound. And also the younger actor, David Tennant, who also uses different accents, but sometimes he uses his native Scottish accent. Okay, right, so that's some Scottish examples, and I just need to clear some space again to give you just the last few examples. Okay, so just one more example for you. There are various cities which have their own distinct accents. Okay, places like Liverpool, which is up in the northwest, Birmingham, which is in the West Midlands, Newcastle, which is in the northeast, and Glasgow up in Scotland. And I just would like to give you a few examples from the Birmingham accent. So in Birmingham, if you say I'll be there, they change the vowel sound and they say oil. So it's like oil. If they say fine, we say fine, okay. But they say foin, so like that. And the word for the cosmetics that you put on your face, which we call makeup, all one word. When you make up your face, you're using makeup. They pronounce it my-cup, okay? So it's like my cup. I'm going to buy some my-cup instead of I'm going to buy some makeup. Okay, so that's just a few examples to show how a particular accent can change the vowel sound. Right, so having said all of this, I'm giving you some examples. Just to come back to London briefly, and any other big city, you get many accents in a big city. You get the accents from the people who live in that country, the national accents and the regional accents from different parts of the country. You also get all the international accents from people who have come from other countries. Okay, so in any big city that you visit, you will hear many different accents. But there are three main things that really matter with accent. It doesn't really matter so much which accent you use, as long as you have these three things. Clarity, that's if you speak clearly, okay? Pace, or the speed, don't speak too quickly, and you can ask other people to speak more slowly for you to understand them. And volume, sometimes people speak very quietly and you need to ask them to speak more loudly, to speak up. So those are the three main things. Whatever your accent, don't worry too much about your accent. Just try to be clear, don't speak too quickly, and speak with a good volume, not too quietly. Don't be so shy about making mistakes that you speak too quietly. Make it fairly loud. Okay, so I hope that little overview of UK accents has been useful for you. And if you'd like to test your knowledge, we have a quiz on the website, ingvid.com. So if you'd like to go there and do the quiz, and if you'd like to subscribe to my channel on YouTube, that would be great. And so thank you for watching and hope to see you again soon. Okay, bye.